I'd like to call the meeting to order. Rebecca, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Here.
Hallie. Yes. Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy.
Here.
Pam. Yes. Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you. Martha stayed home because of the snow, and we're glad she did. We have one change to the agenda tonight. Rachel Clark will not be here. We're pushing that off probably a couple meetings, right? Okay. Consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the January 11th, 2021 council meeting. Approval of January 19th, 2021 special payroll in the amount of $9,731.65. Approval of January 22nd, 2021 payroll in the amount of $122,976.89. Approval of the 2021 mobile home permits. Approval of the December finance report. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Approval of liquor license for the Depot House and Hy-Vee meeting room. Approval of total claims in the amount of $212,535.25. There were no claims over $75,000.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we moved by Anderson, second by Gandy. Is there any discussion? I just have one question. Just, Scott, will you tell the improvements out at Leisure Living? Because last summer we had a re-rod, and can you give us an update of what's happening out there?
Leisure living has been a struggle for the past few years as far as the conditions for the residents out there in the way of the roads. Last year we had rebar sticking up that I get the calls for, but it's actually private roads. The city doesn't maintain those. But in conversations with John, we're still expected to respond in emergencies out there, whether it be police, fire, ambulance, and sometimes the roads are in conditions that our vehicles are going to get damaged. And I'm constantly getting calls from the residents out there about potholes, sections of road that need to be replaced. And I've been in conversation with Mr. Davis on and off for the last probably 5 or 6 years. You know, piecework here, piecework there, a little bit gets done, then another piece needs to be done. I think after talking to Connie tonight, I think it'd probably be a good idea just to bring him to a property committee meeting and let him know what our expectations are of him. It is a private road that he has to maintain, but we still have to be able to, you know, access it in the way of emergencies and stuff. And his residents, you know, they deserve better to drive on than, you know, what they're driving on, because they're getting damages to their car, which obviously that's a civil issue. But anyways, we just wanted to bring that to your attention. The re-rod part was taken care of. There was a cul-de-sac that for many months this past fall, late summer and fall, were the waste management told them they wouldn't drive in there to get the garbage anymore. The UPS trucks did not want to go up in there because of the conditions of the road. He finally did have somebody come in and put blacktop in those holes. So they're semi-taken care of for now. We'll see what winter does to them and what they're like in the springtime. But I think it'd probably be a good idea to bring them before, you know, property and just have a conversation with them and just let them know what our expectations are.
Great.
Well, one question.
Yeah.
What are the consequences if we withhold the mobile home permit for Leisure Living tonight?
Well, and that's what I talked to Connie about, and you can ask, John's probably can give you a better, but what do we do? I mean, what do we do with the tenants that are there? He's the one that, you know, we have the issue with, but we can't displace, you know, those people that are there, so.
Delay tonight until the next meeting or the meeting after that even. Will it affect the residents in the short term?
I don't think it will, would it, John?
That might be a good signal to send.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to amend my motion.
It's up to the council. You know, from my perspective, I just wanted to have Scott give you an update of kind of what's happening out there, and then certainly review it in the spring once the snow's cleared and see what the status is, and if we needed to do something different, we could, or, you know, the council could.
I would offer the amendment to the amendment that we withhold the permit for Leisure Living.
I'll second that.
Before we vote, can I ask what the repercussions? You guys might need turned on.
1, 2, 3. what's the repercussion to holding that off? When does it expire?
They're good for a year. The permits are good for a year.
From, when's the expiration?
What's that?
When's the expiration this year?
I believe it's through the December 31st. Yeah. So it's through the end of the year.
Oh, okay, plenty of time. We're not gonna be evicting, if we hold off on a couple
That's the
weeks.
last thing we're looking at is evicting people, obviously. We just want to have the conversation with him and, just,
So this renewing of these permits would be beginning next calendar year?
what's that?
We're renewing them for next calendar year?
We renew them every year at the beginning of the year.
What's the renewal date?
What's the expiration date of the current? We don't renew them tonight. That's my question.
31st this year.
Okay.
Of 2021?
So we're renewing for 2022.
We're,
No. Yeah, we're renewing for
right
2021.
now,
So
you're
let me
doing
try to rephrase.
2021.
If we don't renew it now, when is the expiration date?
December 2020.
It's already expired last
Yeah.
Yeah,
December?
it's expired as of December 31st.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
So nothing's happened in 3 weeks.
I suspect there's probably a grace period of some sort. I don't know, but I'm guessing. there
Well,
is.
how long is the grace period?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, if we don't renew it, if it's already expired, are we creating a scenario where those people could be out of compliance? And we want to incentivize the owner, but we don't want to punish the tenants. So.
John, can you give some thought process here? I mean, I didn't mean to muddy this water. I
No,
assumed
there's
we
two
would
things
move
here.
forward
One-
with voting for it, but then, put some attention on it later this year.
Yeah, our code doesn't give us a lot of detail on what we do when we're permitting these. What we basically are into, though, is we're an administrative body in this situation, inspecting and approving. And if we deny the permit, he's got the procedures both that are in our code and the Iowa Administrative Procedure Act. That gives him about 60 days if we do that to him and just flat out say you can't have a permit. If we're reviewing it and it takes a little longer, we're in limbo and he's in limbo as far as getting the permit done, but we didn't say no. So it's not appealable yet. The residence is a separate question. I believe that park, every resident has a written lease, and they are subject both to what the lease says and the Iowa Uniform Landlord Tenant Act, and they can't be put out except for an emergency public health matter, which once in a while Scott will red tag somebody, and that can be immediate. It can be 48 hours. Most of the time, we haven't gone more than 48 hours, have we, Scott, as far as something that was seriously a health issue or an electrical issue or a fire issue. We do it as quickly as we can, but we try to give the occupant an opportunity. But in a situation like this, where we're trying to get it up to a better standard and take some risk away, but it may not be emergency health or it may not be emergency safety or fire, we still expect the owner landlord to do the same things that would be expected both under the state code and under his lease. But this lease scenario with the tenants is partly their call rather than our call. So we step back a ways and let that sort out if somebody's really unhappy with what the landlord's doing. And there's an old case called State versus Fox that lets tenants actually not pay their rent if they have an objectionable health, safety, or fire issue. They can escrow their rent with the clerk of court or a judge instead of the landlord. That's usually an incentive for the landlord to fix it sooner rather than later. But at this point, you got the two separate issues. That's how it would work. Nobody should get evicted over our action tonight, okay?
So we could accept all but one of the permits and hold off on this one that you view as
Yeah,
problematic?
if you accept all of the rest and you say this one's tabled for a meeting or committee or Scott say so or
If
whatever.
I understand you, John, essentially you'd have 60 days to.
That's the way it would work under the
remedy.
procedural appeal rules. But I don't think you even have to go there. If you say you're just gonna review it and take a little longer. It's really not an appealable situation yet.
And then final question, I promise. Can we approve something contingent upon the roads being fixed? Could we?
Yes,
We can.
Can, yeah.
That would probably be my opinion, is go ahead and issue the permit to him, but have the meeting and let him know that you've been approved this year. This is what we expect, and as of, I don't know if it's this year, we say it this year, or we say January 1 of next year, when that new permit comes due, if you have not, made the improvements we expect out there, your permit will not be renewed. That way, he's got notice, his tenants will have notice. That's the last thing anybody wants to do is, go to that extreme, but he'll have plenty of time that way.
That seems like a good resolution, but that would require the motion to be changed the third time or withdrawn.
Actually, we have to vote on the amendment to the first motion. If it fails, then Michael can make another motion to
Okay.
amend the first motion.
Okay, so let's vote on your amendment, which was to withhold that one. Approve all the others, correct?
Yes.
But withhold that one. So,
You approved to approve the minutes, right? Or, I'm sorry,
Initially,
the
yes.
consent agenda,
I initially did consent agenda.
and you agreed to change your motion?
I had when we got the second one
Well-
on
Yeah.
the floor.
Okay.
We should vote on my motion to amend her motion first. If that fails, then Michael can make a motion to amend her motion. We vote on that, and then we vote on her motion.
yeah.
Clear as mud?
No,
So we're gonna
We'll just
vote
do
on
each
this
step.
as long as.
Amendment.
motion, the amendment. Okay, so the amendment is to withhold leisure living, but accept all the others. So Rebecca called the roll on that.
Do I have,
Be Doug and then
I had
Katie.
seconded it.
you did, okay, I'm sorry, I missed the second on that. Flournoy,
Yes?
Anderson,
Yes.
Gandy,
No.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
No.
Hallie,
No.
We're split.
So wasn't that
Was it tied?
split?
So that
It was a
means it
split.
doesn't pass.
So it doesn't pass.
It's tied, it fails.
we have a tie. So it doesn't go anywhere, it fails.
Doesn't go anywhere.
Fails.
Okay,
So I will make amendment to accept it contingent on road repairs are done before next year's permit renewal.
okay.
To the extent that Scott,
Yep, or Scott
Dictates.
Melanie, the city dictates that the roads are in proper condition. So he's got between now and the next time this gets renewed.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Hallie, second by Flournoy, to accept
Contingent
with
upon.
contingent upon road use being acceptable.
And this-
Okay.
And then Katie's motion was for the entire consent agenda.
You just amended it, yeah.
Okay. We got to vote on the amendment.
Okay, you can call the roll on that one, Rebecca. Thank you.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was passed unanimously. Okay, public forum and appearances.
No,
Now
gotta
we have
vote
to
on
vote on the
consent
consent
agenda.
Oh, we have to- Okay, I thought that's what we were doing, was
No,
the-
that was
accepting
just
all
the
of that.
amendment.
So now we're accepting the consent agenda in total, you're saying?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I thought that was
And
the
we do
whole
want
thing.
this to go through, right? Yes.
Okay, one more time. Sorry.
So this is back to Anderson?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I can't tell
Okay.
you who seconded it.
And
did.
Gandy,
Candy
Yes.
did. Yeah, that's right.
Good job.
Hallie,
Sorry.
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest ones
Can't
we've
wait
ever
to read
done.
those minutes.
Right?
Okay. Now we'd go to public forum.
We thought we'd be
Forum
out of here
and
by 8
appearances.
o'clock.
Huh?
And we thought
Collector
we'd be done by 8.
Cars Unlimited Car Show. Steve Beeman is here.
I'm Steve Beeman, and I'm again asking for permission to use the square for our, I think we're up to 39th annual now, car show. September 19th will be the day after Kiwanis Kids Day, virus permitting. We're looking for the exact same thing we've had the last few years.
I would move approval.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great.
Thank you.
Hope you have a good showing, and hope it works.
Well, hope the virus is gone by then.
That's right. Next is a Visit Fairfield update by Terry Baker of the CVB.
Good evening, Council. I wanted to come and present before you, other than our annual report, and kind of give you an idea of what we've been doing over the last few months to promote Fairfield and get things going. If we look back at 2020, there was one thing we learned, and that is that when travel stops, it negatively impacts a lot of businesses in our community. In the old days of CVBs, we used to say that our goal was to put heads in beds. In the new days of destination marketing organizations, we are simply and strategically looking for heads. Because we know that tourism isn't just made up of someone who stays in a hotel. We have a lot of day visitors. We will have people who come to check out Fairfield as a place to live. We'll have friends and family that visit. We'll have entrepreneurs that will visit and people who are looking for jobs. We'll have a whole variety of people who will contribute to our economy in a multiple different ways. We're in the business of attracting those friends and families, those business people, the business traveler, and the residents, potential residents. And we do that by managing the image of Fairfield. We want to create that enticing story that lets them know that they can visit, gives them all the information that they need to make that decision. I feel like every time I come before council, I'm using my favorite word, which is pivot. In the last year, we've had to pivot a lot because our usual methods of attracting those visitors has changed somewhat. And we have had that challenge of continuing to promote the Fairfield image in spite of any obstacle like reduced staff and reduced budget. I don't think I've ever worked so hard in my life during a time when apparently there's no tourism happening. But we've spent a lot of time revamping websites, looking at the potential for how we can increase and grow that tourism once people start traveling. But we also looked at how we were going to support those businesses that were critical to our hospitality industry. So our shops, our restaurants, our attractions, and our events. And we've done that in a number of different ways. We've held our virtual shopping events for our shops. We've done that almost every month. And in that process, our shops have been able to reach an online shopping market as far away as Pennsylvania and California. In fact, the very first weekend that we did that, one of those shop owners called me the very first night and said, "Oh my gosh, I just made my month's rent in one night," literally within an hour and a half. So we're getting that report continually from doing these kind of things, that they're able to maintain their basic operations and get through some of this time where sales are low. We're also right now in the middle of Restaurant Week. I hope you're all participating and getting out there to those restaurants. That is also, we're getting great feedback from our restaurants that is proving to be a very valuable event for them and keeping them afloat for the time being. One of the things that we're noticing that we have an advantage is that because we are not a membership-based organization, we have this advantage of content creation that is complete. In other words, we can promote everything about Fairfield that every visitor needs to know. And that's one advantage that we're trying to make use to our best advantage. We're in the process of building a marketing team of local and regional talent, and our new marketing plan will be launching soon with new content, new campaigns, and new stories that are designed to put Fairfield on everyone's bucket list. Over the past few months, we've been really helping those local businesses, and I have to really give them a shout out because they're they're really changing how they're doing business right now to survive. And you can tell the ones that are changing and adapting and the ones who are not. But our tourism product would not exist without our attractions, our museums, our shops, and our restaurants. We simply would not have the attraction to Fairfield that we would with those things. So tourism in general is so good for Fairfield, and we want to make sure that it keeps going. We know that at some point in time, people are going to be rebelling against Zoom meetings. They're going to be on the road. They're going to be in the air. They're going to be coming out, and we want to be ready for them. And we know that when you build a place that people want to visit, you also have a place that people want to live and the place they want to work. And when they have a place that they want to work, then businesses need to be in that area. And when you have a place that a business wants to be, you have to build a place that people want to visit, because it starts with that visit. And that visit is inspired by our Fairfield image. So tonight we have some entertainment for you. Over the weekend, we had a wild hare, and we thought we'd pull together a little video, kind of showing off that Fairfield image. This is rough. I have to tell you, this is rough. But it is entertaining and fun. It is not for the public. It's just for you guys to have some entertainment tonight. So go ahead, Jason.
Fairfield, Iowa. If you've never been here, you might be thinking this. Does everyone drive a tractor? It's a small town. There's probably nothing to do. Is that the place that grows potatoes? It's just surrounded by cornfields, right?
I bet they don't even have internet. Is that one of those towns where the best food is from a gas station?
But here's what people discover once they've been here. And that sets the stage for a very engaging experience, because we know that Fairfield isn't just one thing. We're a blend of quirky, friendly,
Artistic,
diverse, unique, right, vibrant, welcoming,
laid back, unexpected.
and this is exactly what travelers are looking for. They want a place that is filled with unique and unexpected discoveries, and Fairfield delivers. We're known as the home to the Golden Domes, a hub of cultural activities.
And am open to answering any questions you might have.
Is that going to be on
When
Facebook?
will you get an idea about, these tour buses that the banks run? When does that season start?
The tour buses probably won't pick up until next year.
So you don't expect that much?
I don't expect it. It tends to be largely a senior market, and that market tends to not want to be traveling right now. It never was a big market for us. It was some of a market, but not a huge market. So we're looking at other ways so that we can attract a traveler here. We found that most of the time we had people who came, they just came for a day trip. They had a very set agenda that they wanted to do, and it would put a little bit of money into the community, but not where we wanted it to be. So we're looking at some other options in terms of meetings and conferences and different things that we can do that would stimulate that group interaction. Anything else?
Are you going to do anything with that video?
We're going to probably refine it a little bit.
I mean, Facebook or
Yeah,
whatever.
we might put it out somewhere. We're just looking at it right now. We just literally threw that together in about 12 hours. So we've got some,
Tell me more about the distinction you make between your organization as not a member organization compared to others?
So what we've noticed that there's a trend when you're a membership organization, you're obligated to serve your members. And for us, we want to serve the community, and we want to be able to serve the individuals in the community, the businesses in the community that serve the visitor. So we want to be able to give all that information to our visitor. If a visitor comes and they want to know how they can get to the courthouse to do something, we want to be able to give them that information. If they want to know about restaurants, we want to be able to give them all the restaurants, not just a membership restaurant. So we want to be sure that we're giving them the whole impact of the community. Anything else? Awesome. Well,
Thanks,
thanks for
Terry.
the opportunity.
Okay, under resolutions, action items, and ordinances, we have an action item, consideration to accept and award bid for proposed street reconstruction of Merrill and Carpenter Avenues. Melanie?
So we opened bids for this project on Thursday. We received several bids. The project bid 2 alternates, one alternate being a concrete road and the other one being an asphalt road. This project is for reconstruction of Merrill and Carpenter west of 4th Street. On the concrete bid, we received 4 bids. The low bid being from Jones Contracting of West Point at $248,777. We also received bids from Huer Construction of Muscatine at $303,711.89. Wesley Barton Construction of Mount Pleasant at $330,679. $330,606.79. And the 4th bid was from Just Construction of Fairfield at $365,691. On the asphalt bid, or on the asphalt alternate, we received 3 bids. The low bid on that option being from Huer Construction at $336,842.20. Norris Asphalt of Ottumwa at $337,348.20, and Driss Construction at $432,786.25. So between the 2 alternates, the low bid was from Jones Contracting for the concrete road. You'll see on your attachment that this is it's about $80,000 less than the engineer estimate, and there were 3 main items. The largest portion being the concrete, both for the road and the driveways. The estimate expected concrete prices to go up, and we're not exactly sure if Jones gets a bulk discount or if they had locked in some prices early, but that's what made their bid significantly lower than the other ones. Other things that we noticed was that their mobilization was about $10,000 less than the engineer's estimate and less than the second bid. They have other work in Fairfield already scheduled for this next year, so that makes that low. So we don't have any concerns about the project, about the bid being that much lower than the engineer's estimate. With as many road projects as we have going on this next year, we intend to just hold on to that savings to use for contingency for this project, but as well as all of the other projects that we still have going on. We've got about around $2 million worth of road projects this summer, so $80,000 could come in handy on any of those projects. All that being said, we do recommend, city staff and French Reniker recommend awarding the contract to Jones Contracting of West Point.
Have we worked with them before?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Anderson. Any other questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
I swear. Hallie? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously. Let's go to the consideration of accepting CD interest quotes.
you have a memo in front of you where I reached out to all the local banking institutions within the city. You'll see that Community First Credit Union again is is willing to give us the highest interest rate for the year. You'll also notice that the interest rates are considerably lower than what they were in last year. That's because of all the financial institutions have cash on hand. They're not necessarily looking to bring cash in. They're looking to send cash out. So we did as well as we could this year, and we're just going to end up leaving our CDs right where they're at.
What's the current rate?
2.25.
Okay, are you expecting a vote on anything?
Accept that,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Move to accept.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Toohill. Any other
Accept what?
discussion?
Leaving our CDs where they're at.
At Community First?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Hallie,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Was that motion clear, Rebecca?
Yes, to accept the CD bid.
Leave
for
it in,
Community First.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. The next resolution is consideration of supplemental easement of 200 Forest Drive. And John's told us about this before. Do you have any comments, John?
Only it's the same resolution we did for Mr. Korica on his bigger easement a couple months ago. This is just a sliver that's added that our engineer felt would help us as far as a little work in that area. It's a permanent easement, but it's only about, 4/100ths of an acre. So we have talked with Mr. Korica about renegotiation on trees. He was happy enough about the way we treated him on that he's willing to accept $300 on this. So that's what's in your resolution.
Great. Thank you, John.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Approved unanimously. Next is Ordinance 1195. This is the third and final reading. And this is adding the area to the TIF down in Lincoln Avenue Urban Renewal area. So any comments from public council? I assume not. Okay.
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any other questions or comments? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Thank you. Next, ordinance 1196. This is the second reading. And consideration of amendment to the Fairfield Municipal Code 20.08 and 20.34 General and Manufactured Home Residence District. Melanie, do you want to comment on anything? This is in the
Just,
R5.
I guess, a reminder from when we discussed it at the last council meeting. This is for the R5 zone. Most of the R5 zone is in what's locally called the West End, between 14th and 17th, and from Burlington south. The one thing I do want to point out, there was some discussion on Facebook, but we're not doing any changes to the minimum lot size. We're allowing slightly narrower homes in order to help accommodate those smaller lots that are already there. So I wanted to clarify that we're not, changing the density from what was there, but rather allowing that area to be more buildable.
Yeah, and to her point, the comment was questioning if the city was limiting affordable housing to a certain district. And there was a question if that was the case. And again, we had a developer who has lots in this district show us plans for a house that was technically too narrow, and that kind of prompted this whole thing. So really, the reason this area got looked at is because somebody came and said, I would like to build these really nice homes, but they're a little too narrow. And it grew from that. But to the point, we did say a duplex could be allowed on one lot, a triplex on a lot and a half, and a quadplex on two, which is in a sense a change of density. But again, it fits within the district. And so the gentleman's point is somewhat true in that there are places in town where a little more, little less density makes sense. And because the lots in this area that were created by Parsons College when it was county property and then annexed into the city, the lot sizes are smaller, it almost necessitates more density. So we're not trying to pack people into this area and not trying to incentivize the kind of the high density here and not other places. It's just that this was the first place that we're looking at this. And we could eventually roll this out in other residential districts where you could potentially build something more this size. But do you think that's a good answer to that concern? And I'm going to send this video to that gentleman so he can hear.
So how many empty lots are there, or vacant lots are there in this district?
I can't think of the number, specific number, but it's around 50% actually of the lots that are in the R5 zone are currently vacant.
So it's ripe for some
Yeah,
development.
it's been a roadblock to build there because
Couldn't meet the setbacks.
people
And,
can't meet the setback.
And the developer that requested this actually owns
a bunch.
I'd almost say half, but I
No,
could be
not-
wrong.
It's not half, but he
But
owns
he owns
almost
quite a few
block.
lots there to where he could actually turn that into a very good development.
And it's not a bad area of town. You're walking distance to Hy-Vee and walking
the cell
distance
tower
to
goes
the, yeah, exactly. You're walking distance to the Park and Rec and some of the restaurants. So I'll move to pass it to the third and final reading.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Under the mayor's report, I just have that I would like to appoint Judy Ham to the Area 15 Multi-County Housing Agency Board. This is the board that deals with low-income housing in the area. There are some homes that they own, so this board oversees those.
Move to approve mayor's appointment.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. City Attorney, John, do you have anything tonight?
Nothing new.
Nothing new, okay.
Well, it's not in jail yet.
What?
Pardon me?
You're not in jail yet.
Wow.
Okay, moving
You're
on.
referring to the Jefferson County
Yes.
Ambulance Service Committee. Okay,
Inside
just
joke.
don't throw that general little statement out there.
Sorry.
Yeah. Don't set the frame differently if you don't mind. Okay.
Okay, little comic relief there. So, Ways and Means,
Very
Paul,
little.
can you talk to us about Ways and
Yeah,
Means?
well, just for that, Mayor, since we're running ahead of schedule, I'd like to take this next 45 minutes to go into some detail about our meeting.
Okay,
If you don't mind,
perfect.
Doug. No, actually, the Ways and Means Committee met this last week and began our annual process of reviewing the city's budget. This is for the fiscal year 22, which begins July 1 of 2021. We have 130 pages of a proposed budget that has been prepared by the city administrator, Aaron Korica, who was present, along with the city clerk, Rebecca Loper, who was also present. The mayor was present at the meeting as well, and with the input of various department heads. So we began the process of reviewing that document, literally page by page, and we're somewhat along the way. We're going to meet again next week, Wednesday, the same Wednesday, I believe, at 6:30 p.m. It's a public meeting, and continue the review process, and hopefully by the end of that meeting, if not, we'll continue on. Look at the budget very carefully, the proposed budget very carefully, and make sure that we're making the best use of our tax dollars. The members of the committee are Katie Anderson, Doug Flournoy, myself, Paul Gandy as chair. And as fun as it is to review 130 pages of budget, it's a low bar, but still it's quite enjoyable. And I think we're doing a good job of making sure we attend to the revenues of the city entrusted to it by the taxpayers. So we'll have a written report after our next meeting when we conclude our review. And of course, we'll share that with the council and the public.
Great, thank you. No questions for Paul? Okay. Let's move on to administrator and department reports. Aaron?
Just one clarification. Rebecca does the hard work on putting that report together, so give credit where credit's due.
It's clear here.
She does a
Thank you.
fantastic job.
She does, indeed.
The second quarter financial report, it's actually probably the half the year report because I did not break it into first and second quarters. If you see that second memo that you have in front of you, our general fund revenues are sitting at about 55% of our annual budget that we budgeted. So that's actually pretty good considering that the departments that can raise revenue within the department without tax dollars those services are not raising. They've raised very little revenue this year. So we're actually doing very well with our overall general fund budget. The reason the expenditure, a reminder, the reason why the expenditures are high is we purchased the DOT property site. That's the reason why the expenditures are a little high. Water fund, as you can see, is doing very well, budget-wise, revenue and expenditures. The sewer fund,
What's going on there?
that's the sewer plant closing, is why we have so much revenue and expenditures there. And then solid waste is setting pretty good. We are going to look at adjusting our solid waste fees to cover the shortfall that we're having now that we've approved
Contract with Waste Management.
Yeah, thank you. That is waste management. I was having a hard time. But that contract has been approved and that's actually less than, we're not covering that cost. We're actually covering it with the cash balance on hand. So we need to adjust that rate.
That's an ordinance change, by the way.
Yes. We'll be working on that. Probably could have that after Ways and Means and then the next council meeting we can address that probably.
So this is a kind of a general question, and it's not expecting an answer. But when I started in 2010 on council, that fund was a negative about 200K for the waste fund because we had been charging the citizens less than what we were paying for the service for a number of years, and no one caught it. So we got it up to a zero. Now it's over 200K. If we go back to charging just a little bit more than what we get charged, then it'll continue to grow. What can we do with those funds? I mean, it's a waste fund, solid waste fund. We don't really have a whole lot that we could do with it. So just kind of an idea, like maybe we should ask around or
Pickup day.
ask our, what?
A waste pickup day.
Well, that's been discussed. So we took that away because it was being abused when people
Oh, yeah.
were contractors were doing remodeling and then dumping that stuff in front of some stranger's yard just so they could offset the cost and make the public pay for it. So it got out of hand, but it's an idea of doing something where, one day a year,
Even if
week
it's
a
not
year
regular.
or something.
Yeah.
There's that we could pick up stuff. I don't
It's a
know.
definite need in the community.
Just let it percolate in there, Aaron, or maybe even ask whoever would be able to answer, like what legal activities can we spend that? Because 200,000 is kind of a lot of money just to be sitting there for no reason. I mean, we got quite a cushion before we have to do that ordinance change
Right.
with the new fees. But I assume we're not going to make it dead even. We gotta charge a little bit more than what we're being charged.
That's one of the questions I was asking is what kind of balance should we maintain in that fund?
Yeah, and for what purpose? I don't know what we would use that for.
Do we need to refer that to your committee? I mean, I know we've, in Ways and Means, we already talked that it was going to go to that committee, but
Right,
do you want to vote on that?
Well, not Waste and Means, with the environment
Environmental, yeah.
franchise handled the contract last year. And
Exactly.
I thought the increase would have been passed on already, but I didn't know it was an ordinance change requiring that. So we're gonna have another meeting, I guess, and discuss it.
So should we make that an official motion to move it to your committee? Environmental and franchise? Okay, can someone move for that, please?
I'll make the motion. Or-
Okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Gandy.
So the motion was to move the rate increase.
To-
Environmental franchise.
For them to discuss it
Okay.
and talk about the increase and
And the fund.
bring up your question, because it's a valid question. You know,
Right.
and, you know, what's reasonable to leave in there for a balance? And since we do have extra balance, you know, do we want
Maybe
to do
get some
something
quotes or ideas
special?
about how much it would cost to do the pickup
Yeah,
that you suggested.
well, I know a certain department head won't want to do it. He was glad when it was ended.
Well, if we can contract it out, that'd be,
Yeah, could be.
maybe Connolly or somebody would want to do it.
It'd be nice to look at what we can do out at
I
the
like that
compost
idea
site
a
too.
lot better.
Hmm?
It'd be nice to look at what we can do out at the compost site. See if we can,
Yeah, that is solid waste.
it is solid.
And by the way, we are charging businesses $3 a month to pay our portion of the
Recycling center?
recycling center. Maybe we could lower that a little.
Right.
You know, maybe we don't need 3.
There's only like $35,000 contract last time I remember.
Yeah, we renegotiated with the county to pay half each, so
Right.
that could be discussed as well.
Okay, so those will be the kinds of things that you will look at in your committee. So all in favor of moving that to the environmental franchise, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Anything else, Aaron?
No, I was
Grumbling over here.
grumbling.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna talk about fire station site update, or is that Melanie?
Melanie and Scott went to the supervisors today, so they'll have a.
Okay.
So yeah, Scott and I went and talked with the county this last week and then the supervisors this morning. We've learned that the city and public health had a handshake agreement several years ago as far as both entities being in that building. The documents that we've found indicate that the city actually owns 100% of that building. That is a surprise to several city and county officials, so we're gonna look and see if there's another document. Most people were under the impression that it was 50-50, so we'll continue, the attorneys will continue to look at that. But regardless, the county is generally in favor of utilizing that entire space for a fire station, as long as we continue to keep the county and public health in the loop as far as when we make a decision as far as what site and how we proceed, construction schedule, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, we intend to do that. So with that being known now, Scott and I have a phone call scheduled with Klingner for later this week to talk about the scope of the next phase. We see the next phase being a detailed comparison of the two sites, looking at the structural review, the truck turning paths to make sure that we can get the drive-through bays that we're looking at. I think we will go ahead and do asbestos and lead testing within all 3 buildings, because really regardless of what we do with the fire station, there's still our buildings, and it's a good thing to know what's there, whether we keep it or whether we sell it. Good information to have. There's a local company that does a really reasonable price. And then we'll also talk with Klingner about how detailed of a cost estimate can we get at this point. So we'll be working through all that and then bringing you guys back an agreement with Klingner to do that next study, that more detailed study on the 2 sites. The other thing is that we'll be working with, Scott mainly, we'll be working with Fairfield Media Center to do a virtual tour of the existing fire station. We figure that would probably be ready about the same time we would have the results of this more detailed study. So we're looking on doing all those things to move forward. Any questions?
In talking with the county, did you get any sense or any better idea what they might want to do with the building?
Long-term storage for county records is an ongoing issue. They don't want to move the files more than once, that's for sure. So I think even if public health would stay in that building, that the county is going to be looking for additional storage even outside of that building. The impression I got was this is maybe a good opportunity for both entities to look at other building needs. You know, whether it's different, something different for public health, something different for the fire station. You know, we've got several older public buildings that, you know, maybe this is an opportunity to relook at some things. No real, you know, answer one way or another as far as wanting to move or wanting to move into the DOT buildings specifically. There was just the request that we don't do it during the pandemic. So I said, that works. It'll be like 2 years before we get anywhere anyway, but.
And if the city owns that building, is there there's no rent changing hands or maintenance? How we've been doing maintenance, do we know?
Scott and Chris have been coordinating the maintenance. I know that like phone bills and electric bills and all those things are split.
Right now, it's 6733, basically. There's a generator that Chris and our public health needs and the fire department needs, obviously. Ours for lighting and doors to go up in the event of a power outage in an emergency. She needs the generator for some of the medical supplies she has, and we've been doing the yearly maintenance on the generator for her.
So 67 being the city?
What's that?
6733, the
Yep.
city?
Yep.
67 for the city, okay.
Just like the law building.
What's that? Yes.
Just like the law
Yep.
building.
Yep. And
Jail.
correct me if I'm wrong, but even that's basically a gentleman's handshake. We can't even find an agreement on that either. So it's just, we've been doing that ever since the police went to their new building in 2000. They had a meeting a couple years ago. Discussion was had, but nothing was ever, you know, changed. I think Tom Thompson and Darren Hamilton both were in that meeting, but nothing, no paperwork, nothing signed.
Did you read the 28 ink with the?
Yes, that's where we found the
Yeah, there's
information.
a paragraph in there about it, if I recall correctly.
Right, and in the two versions of that particular, the current 2080 for the current law center, there's a paragraph that says upon occupancy of the new law center, the city will take ownership of 100% of the building for a cost of blank. And in both versions, that blank is left blank. And so that's why it's kind of, there's this question about, is there a document that supersedes this?
Sounds like zero to me.
Sounds like zero to us too, but you know, we with still needing to do the further study on the buildings, we have some time to figure out that ownership.
Scott, the county paid for the renovations when they turned the old jail into the public health, right? They did that.
Yep.
It came out quite nicely. Like, you go in there and you don't really realize it was a jail. It doesn't feel like a jail. It feels like a really nice office space.
Another Dick Reed spearheaded project, and they always turn out very nice.
Great. Thank you for clearing that mud puddle up, sort of.
Yeah. We'll try and keep you up to date as new information progresses.
Great, thank you.
On the rest of the projects, there are lots of things going on. On the step 2 conveyance, we're getting very close to having all of the pipe constructed. Once they get dug out from the snowstorm, they'll be working in the Forest Park area. Should expect some road closures in that area here soon. Wastewater treatment plant there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of progress has been made this last month, but there's still some work to be remaining. And we'll talk about any liquidated damages when the work is finally complete. There's no reason to start guessing about what liquidated damages might be now because they're not complete. Prior to the reconstruction of Highway 1, the city will be replacing the water main along Highway 1. we have asbestos cement pipe in that area, which is very fragile. And so even though it's not directly under the road, we want to get it out of the way and replaced. So we'll be bidding that project here in the next couple weeks for summer and fall construction. On the Highway 1 street improvements, so we continue to work with the consulting engineer and Piper Jaffray on the funding, as well as narrowing down the schedule between the different funding sources. On 4th and 32nd, those projects are being bid through the Iowa DOT on March 16th. We got very good numbers on the Merrill and Carpenter project, and one thing we always do when we do a bid opening in person is we let the contractors know about the other projects that we have coming up. So we hope to see good turnout on those two projects.
Would they be constructed this year?
Yes. Yep. And those two are asphalt overlays, so you're not going to have quite the competitiveness that you do on the concrete, just because we have one main asphalt supplier in this area. But combined 4th and 32nd is about $1 million. So it would, even though they're two separate contracts, if one contractor got them, it would be a very nice project. So I think it will bring some, maybe some outside the area contractors perhaps. So we're hopeful with that. However, like I said, we'll keep that contingency money from Merrill and Carpenter for those projects if we need it. We're also working on the design for the street bond package. So again, this is another $1 million worth of street work that we're going to be doing in 2021. The big part of this is going to be reconstruction of 23rd, which is the Industrial Park Road, from Burlington all the way down to Tyler. There's no alleys or side roads in this area, so the project's going to be in multiple phases, and we're working on scheduling a meeting with the property owners to go through those phases, make sure that we continue access to all the properties. It's a lot of semi-traffic, so the staging is a little more complex than if it was a residential street. But that's going to be a very good project to get done and be very beneficial to those industrial users out there. And then on the wastewater side of things, I've said before that even though there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the wastewater treatment plant, we're nowhere near done. We have a step 3 and 3A and 3B that we'll be working on doing requests for qualifications. Although we enjoy working with McClure, doing a request for qualifications is necessary for many grant programs. And so we'll be going through those steps. And then lastly, I didn't put it on here, but I do want to let you know that the city was awarded the funding for the downtown traffic light study. This is something that we talked about with the two-way traffic. It was in the CIP. That program was put on hold in 2020, but they have restarted it, and we have a kickoff meeting scheduled for next week with that consultant engineer. What it is the DOT hires a consulting engineer to work with us. The DOT pays that engineer, and we basically get about 100 hours of free engineering services through this consultant. And so we'll be looking at the two-way, changing the roads to the two-way streets, but then also, if we don't do the two-way streets, just how we can make those intersections better. Can we remove a traffic light on Burlington now that the traffic flow is a lot different than it was 15 years ago? And so we'll be looking at all those things. We'll also be looking at the fire station and whether we need to look at some sort of light on Briggs to help stop traffic in order to get the fire trucks out. So lots of different stuff on the lights as far as we'll be on 2nd and Burlington are going to be the streets that we'll be looking at. So excited to see that. That is all I have. Just like 1 minute to 8 o'clock. We did great.
How long will that study take?
100 hours.
Yeah, quite a while. I mean, 100 hours
September,
isn't.
October, June?
I would say June, but I really won't know until we have the kickoff meeting with them. I don't know how high this work is on the priority list. You know, I'm not sure how DOT, how the contract with DOT and that consultant is. But
Great. Any other questions, council?
May I ask a question on that?
Well, technically it's not open, but if it's very quickly.
Who's the consultant on the study for the stoplight?
oh goodness, it's a kid I went to college with, but I can't think of what company he works for. I think it's Howard R. Green.
Okay.
Because it's not Shive and it's not McClure, so we're going to throw another engineer into our portfolio here.
Okay.
Great, thank you. If nothing else, council, to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So by Toohill, second by Ham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.